Good morning. It's Monday, it's 12 o'clock, and I am here talking to you about messaging and how important that is if you really want people to understand what you sell, what you do. It's part of your branding and your marketing. When people set up their businesses, so often they try to be clever, and I've fallen into this trap more times than I care to remember. It's a very slippery rabbit hole to fall down. But we feel like sometimes we have to sound clever so that people think, this is amazing, this, I need this, and all the rest of it. And actually, it's harder to sell to people when you're being clever, because people are always ever going to buy an answer to a problem. And sometimes they need that problem outlined really clearly for them. And sometimes, they're searching for an answer to the problem. So understanding the problem you solve is the key to getting your messaging right. And your messaging needs to be in nice, simple terms. It's not about dumbing down, it's about simplifying, it's about clarity. Our brains are full of stuff that we see, we hear, we pick up every day. Millions upon millions bits of information going into our head and being sorted and put somewhere. And in order for our brain to accept and actually sort of process what it's hearing or seeing, it needs to be clear. Otherwise, our brain just switches off. Now, you know this. You have been to places, whether it's networking or you've been to a conference or you've just been chatting to somebody, and whatever they're saying becomes so complicated, let's use that word, becomes so sort of windy and things like that, that you just turn off. You don't want to hear the end. And my prime example of this is current hubby. He loves to tell stories, nothing wrong with that. I adore a good story. But sometimes he will tell a whole story when all I've done is said to him, do you want sausages for tea? And all I want is a yes or no. And by the time he's finished, I've just made the decision. I've walked away. I can't take in all that extraneous information. And this is what happens when you're talking to people. Now, in a book, we know there's tons of extra information, description and painting pictures and all the rest of it. And that's fine. That's fine because we're reading it and we can go back on it and our brain will slowly process it. But when you're speaking, it's instantaneous. It takes seconds for the brain to go, I've got it. No, I haven't. I don't like it. I don't trust it. Oh, might be interesting. But if the listener cannot make sense of what you're saying to them, the brain will safeguard itself and its owner by shutting down and not listening. And you will have wasted an awful lot of time when all you wanted to say to somebody was, I can help with your pain relief. But instead, you've told them every single therapy you use. You've told them all about the different pain people get. You've done all of this and it sounds amazing to you. But to people outside of that industry, it's just gobbledygook, complete gobbledygook. And I'm not dismissing how clever all of you are in what you do and how well you do what you do. But what you have to remember is that outside of that, we don't have a clue. We really don't. I was looking for a solicitor a few years ago, divorce solicitor. And I knew I needed one. I didn't really understand what my problem was. And I'd heard lots and lots. I did a lot of networking then, and lots of people would go, I'm a solicitor. I do this, I do that. I legally do this, do that. And it wasn't until one day I was sat there and somebody got up and said, I ensure that your separation goes as painlessly as possible. And my head shot up. That's just what I need. I'm getting so confused by all this. And so I talked to her and we met and I engaged her to deal with my stuff because I understood what she was saying. And she understood the pain point of getting divorced. So you have to understand what your pain point is. What is the pain point of your clients? Now, I talk about messaging. I'm a public speaking coach, but I always start at the messaging bit. That's where I specialize. And I know that your pain point is the amount of times you've got up and spoken about what you do and it hasn't actually landed anywhere, or it's had made no sense to anybody. And you desperately want people to understand what you do. So then at that point, you're ready for me to show you how to do that. And I hate this phrase, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's not rocket science. Once we go through the process, 99% of my clients go, oh, of course. Oh, of course. But you're too close to it. And that's the issue, isn't it? Often we can't see the wood for the trees. Trust me, I had to get coaching on simplifying what I do recently because I'd become too clever and fallen down the rabbit hole. But that's what your message is all about. And I want you to think of this in the bigger terms. If you think about the most important, urgent messages that we as people understand, they are simple. SOS. 3 letters. Everybody knows what that means. The simplest messaging ever. And you don't need to say anymore, somebody needs help. That might be SOS, my boat is sinking, I'm off the channel. But that initial getting people interested, that initial first sort of intro is so important. If you do anything that works with therapies and works with like reflexologists, I've had a few clients that do reflexology and other things that I can't even pronounce. And it's interesting because they think that's what they do, reflexology. It's not. That's a tool you use in order to achieve an outcome. And that's what your message needs to tell people. The tools are the things you use to achieve the outcome. That makes sense? I hope so, because that's what the message is all about. I can help you feel less tense and stressed at the end of a day doing this. I can simplify your day-to-day living by doing this. I help women give birth in the most natural, safe environment that they want by doing this. See what I mean? So what you have to do is look at your various tools you use within your messaging. So for me, when I talk about teaching people to speak with clarity and confidence, I use things like storytelling. It's one of my, it's in my toolkit. I use the elevator pitch. I use simple flashcards. They're all tools to get you speaking confidently. And yes, you're all wondering about storytelling and things. The thing is, in order to be clear and confident, you have to really believe in the things you're saying. And if you start that from your very own story, nobody else knows your story like you do, then you're starting and on a really firm footing to be confident about what you say to people. And the more confident you are, the more clear you are, the more you show your authority, the more people are going to trust you and your business will grow. So if you want to know more about that, go to all the wsbevhecting.com. I've got free, download these flashcards that literally give you these sort of sections that you just need to understand, and you can just follow it down, fill it in, and you'll end up with an amazing business introduction. Because most of us start our entrepreneurial life, go networking. And the first thing networking does is say, oh, let's have your 60-second introduction. Yeah, I blame Richard Branson for that, but never mind, which is why it's called the elevator pitch. You see, you're supposed to be able to tell people what you do really clearly by the time you've got up, you've stepped into an elevator with Richard Branson. By the time you've got to the top, then you can do that. Ideally, you should be able to tell people what you do in one sentence. And I've yet to fail finding that one sentence for people. The rest is how you do it, why you do it, a bit of your story. But that initial hook will always be the problem someone's struggling with. And then you give them the solution, because that is what they buy. So that's today's. I'll be back again next Monday. Don't forget, if you want to go and find out more, all the W's, if you want the replays, they're in the free Soul Circle Starter Circle. And you can join that for free, and you can pick up all the replays of the videos that are in there, and have a think about how you're putting your message across. Are you being clear? Are you being confident? Or do you need some help doing that? Well, that's what I'm here for. I've been known as the message maestro for many, many years, because the one thing I do and can do for you is pull your unique, clear message out of all the rest of the stuff you've got going on. Okay, have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next week, hopefully. Bye.